Well, first of all, we don't know what Russia fired. When Vladimir Putin gave his address, I think it took everybody by surprise. He announced a new missile, the ORESHNIK. It means hazel. Interesting name because hazel is the wood that the Russians used to use to carve the cudgel that they used to beat, non-compliant workers into submission. So the implication is that this is a cudgel that Russia will be using to beat the West into submission. It's as described by Vladimir Putin, it's a medium-range missile. And that's an important term. Generally speaking, medium-range missiles have a range between 1,000 and 3,000 kilometers, which means it's not an intercontinental ballistic missile. The Ukrainians had identified it as an intercontinental ballistic missile, in particular identified it as what's known as an RS-26 Rubieж or Frontier missile system.
Welcome to today's in-depth analysis. Recent developments in the Ukraine conflict have taken a significant turn. Military analyst and former weapons inspector Scott Ritter has weighed in on Russia's recent actions, providing critical insights into the unfolding situation. Russia has reportedly deployed a new type of intermediate-range ballistic missile, the ORESHNIK, targeting strategic locations in Ukraine. This action has sent shockwaves through Western nations and has the potential to reshape the dynamics of the ongoing conflict. On November 21st, a missile attack struck the Southern Machine Building Plant, also known as Pivdenmash, in the central Ukrainian city of Dnipro. This facility, once a cornerstone of Soviet-era defense and space technology, remains one of Ukraine's largest defense industry complexes. Established in 1944, it has a long history of producing missiles, including the famed R-36 ICBM, and other systems critical to both Soviet and Ukrainian capabilities. Today, however, it primarily focuses on supporting Ukraine's military needs, including the development of tactical ballistic missiles like the RIM-2, which has a range of 500 kilometers. This strike marks a pivotal escalation, as Pivdenmash is not just any target, it is a symbol of Ukraine's technological resilience and military-industrial potential. Ukrainian authorities, led by President Zelensky, accused Russia of using an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, with a conventional warhead to conduct the attack. Such claims, if true, would represent a rare use of ICBMs for non-nuclear purposes in modern warfare, underscoring the severity of the conflict. The aftermath in Dnipro was devastating, with Ukrainian officials reporting a series of explosions that resulted in significant damage to the facility, while some sources claim the attack also impacted underground production areas allegedly used for Western-supported projects like armored vehicle production. These reports remained unverified. Regardless, this strike has sent a strong message to Ukraine and its Western allies about the lengths Russia is willing to go to neutralize perceived threats. To understand the significance of this event, let's delve deeper into the weapon reportedly used. As former Inspector Scott Ritter highlights, the introduction of the ORESHNIK missile marks a significant escalation in Russia's military capabilities and signals Moscow's willingness to test cutting-edge technology in active combat scenarios. Russian President Vladimir Putin confirmed the use of this intermediate-range ballistic missile, which represents a leap in modern weaponry. The ORESHNIK is derived from the RS-26 Rubiež platform, itself a shorter-ranged variant of the RS-24 Yars ICBM. This missile is equipped with advanced features, including the capability to carry multiple independently targetable reentry vehicles, or maneuverable reentry vehicles, MAREVs. It is capable of delivering either nuclear or non-nuclear payloads with extreme precision. And in this case, Russia reportedly used a non-nuclear hypersonic payload, which traveled at speeds of to Mach 10, or approximately 3 kilometers per second, making it nearly impossible to intercept with current defense systems, including U.S. missile shields deployed across Europe. This hypersonic capability enables the ORESHNIK to bypass existing air defense systems with ease. Furthermore, its ability to maneuver in the atmosphere adds an extra layer of unpredictability, making it a formidable tool for Russia to demonstrate both military superiority and technological innovation. By deploying this missile, Russia has effectively blurred the lines between conventional and strategic warfare, showcasing its ability to adapt Cold War-era designs to modern combat needs. The missile's deployment not only highlights advancements in Russian weaponry, but also serves as a stark warning to the West. With its speed, precision, and adaptability, the ORESHNIK sets a new standard for intermediate-range ballistic missiles and reinforces Russia's position as a leader in hypersonic technology. But what prompted Russia to escalate its military response? President Putin has framed the attack on Dnipro as a direct retaliation for Western military support to Ukraine. Specifically, the use of US-supplied ATACMS ballistic missiles and UK-provided Storm Shadow cruise missiles to target Russian provinces, such as Kursk and Bryansk, has provoked a firm response from Moscow. These strikes, which damage critical Russian infrastructure, have been described by Putin as clear evidence of Western nations' direct involvement in the conflict. The ATAC missiles, capable of striking deep into Russian-held territories, and the precision-guided Storm Shadow missiles represent significant threats to Russia's defensive lines and logistical networks. By targeting Kursk and Bryansk, Ukraine has demonstrated its intent to strike not just the front lines, but also key areas within Russian territory. For Russia, this level of escalation required a response that matched, if not exceeded, the intensity of these attacks. The use of the ORESHNIK missile in this context underscores Russia's commitment to maintaining a position of strength. By deploying an advanced weapon system capable of overwhelming modern air defenses, Moscow aims to send a clear message. Any further involvement by the US or its allies will be met with proportional, if not superior, force. This cycle of escalation highlights the increasingly global dimensions of the conflict. With each side pushing the limits of military technology, the risks of miscalculation grow, potentially dragging more nations into the fray. This brings us to the strategic implications of targeting Pivdenmash. According to Scott Ritter, targeting Pivdenmash is a calculated move by Russia to cripple Ukraine's defense production capabilities and send a broader signal to Western powers about its military dominance. Pivdenmash, founded on July 24, 1944, during the Soviet era, has a long and storied history in the development of advanced missile technologies. This factory played a crucial role in creating 11 different ballistic missile systems, including the iconic R-5, the first Soviet nuclear-armed ballistic missile with a range of 1,200 kilometers. It also developed the R-36 ICBM, infamous for being the heaviest intercontinental ballistic missile ever made, weighing 209 tons with a staggering range of 600 kilometers. During the Cold War, Pivdenmash symbolized the pinnacle of Soviet engineering, producing weapons capable of influencing the global balance of power. After the fall of the Soviet Union, the facility's production shifted significantly, and it struggled to maintain relevance. However, even in a diminished state, it remains a critical piece of Ukraine's defense industrial base. Recent years have seen efforts to revitalize Pivdenmash with Western assistance, focusing on developing systems like the RIM-2 tactical ballistic missile designed for a 500-kilometer range, and supplying components for armored vehicles. Russia's strike on Pivdenmash serves multiple purposes. On the surface, it aims to destroy a key military production facility, but it also signals Russia's intent to prevent any potential resurgence of Ukraine's missile production capabilities. Even though some critics argue the plant's technology is outdated, Russia recognizes that the foundational expertise and infrastructure present at Pivdenmash could, with sufficient investment, once again pose a significant threat. Moreover, unconfirmed reports suggest that Pivdenmash has recently been involved in repairing and upgrading Western-supplied military equipment for Ukraine, making it a natural target for Russian retaliation. The attack underscores Russia's broader strategy of systematically dismantling Ukraine's ability to sustain a prolonged military campaign. This calculated move aligns with Putin's stated goal of ensuring Russia's national security by eliminating threats at their source. The deployment of the ORESHNIK missile also sends a broader message to the West. Analysts suggest that the ORESHNIK missile's capabilities extend far beyond Ukraine, making it a direct challenge to NATO and Western military strategy. With its advanced technology and extended range, the ORESHNIK can target any European nation within minutes. For instance, it is estimated that the missile could strike the UK in just 19 minutes, Poland in 8 minutes, Germany in 11 minutes, and Belgium in 14 minutes. This level of capability dramatically shifts the strategic calculus for NATO. The alliance has long relied on its missile defense systems to deter aggression, but the ORESHNIK's hypersonic speed and maneuverability render most current defenses ineffective. By deploying this missile, Russia has sent an unequivocal message. It possesses the tools to counteract NATO's military presence in Europe and beyond. President Putin has made it clear that Russia will not hesitate to target military facilities in countries supplying weapons to Ukraine. This warning underscores the risks that Western nations face as they continue to support Ukraine. While NATO members have consistently downplayed the likelihood of direct military involvement, the introduction of the ORESHNIK raises the stakes significantly. Furthermore, this missile's deployment is not just about military posturing. It's a demonstration of Russia's technological superiority in hypersonic weapons. By unveiling this capability now, Moscow is not only responding to Western provocations, but also signaling its readiness for any future escalations. This stark reminder of Russia's military strength forces NATO and the West to reconsider their approach. As tensions rise, it becomes increasingly clear that any further escalation could have profound consequences, not just for the region, but for global security. The international community's reactions have been varied and telling. Despite Ukraine's assertions that an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, was used in the Dnipro strike, many Western officials remain skeptical. Representatives from the UK, France, the US, and the European Union have suggested that Russia likely used a medium or intermediate range ballistic missile instead. These officials point to the improbability of deploying an ICBM for a conventional strike, given the high costs and strategic implications of such weapons. However, U.S. media outlets, including CNN, have acknowledged the possibility that the Dnipro attack served as a live test for a new Russian missile system. If true, this would represent a bold and calculated move by Moscow, using the Ukraine conflict as a proving ground for its latest military technology. Scott Ritter has noted that the West's inability to definitively identify the missile used in the attack reflects the growing sophistication of Russian weaponry. This uncertainty has heightened concerns among NATO allies who are increasingly aware of the limitations of their current defense systems. The introduction of the ORESHNIK missile complicates the already precarious balance of power, particularly as it showcases capabilities that most Western nations have yet to counter. This reaction also highlights a critical divide between Western rhetoric and reality. While officials publicly downplay the significance of the ORESHNIK, privately, There is growing unease about what this development means for NATO's strategic posture. The Dnipro strike, regardless of the missile used, has underscored the risks of further escalation and the limitations of Western responses. As the international community grapples with the implications of this attack, one thing is clear: the Ukraine conflict is no longer just a regional war. It is a testing ground for the weapons and strategies of tomorrow. Amid these tensions, let's consider the potential for further escalation. Scott Ritter warns that the situation could escalate further if advanced weaponry continues to pour into the conflict from both sides. As the Ukraine war deepens, speculation abounds about Russia's next steps, which could include testing additional missile systems or, in a worst-case scenario, deploying tactical nuclear weapons. These weapons could potentially be used against critical Ukrainian infrastructure, such as airfields hosting Western-supplied fighter jets or missile systems. Recent intelligence points to Russia's consideration of strikes not only within Ukraine, but also on NATO member states' military installations close to the conflict zone. Countries like Romania and Poland, hosting NATO bases and logistical hubs supporting Ukraine, are increasingly seen as high-risk targets for Russian retaliation. Any such move would drastically escalate the conflict, bringing it dangerously close to a direct confrontation between Russia and NATO. President Putin has been explicit in his warnings. He has stated that any deployment of Western short or medium-range missiles in Europe would be met with a proportional Russian response. This message aligns with the Kremlin's broader narrative of readiness to counter what it perceives as Western aggression. Russia's military posturing, including large-scale drills and the demonstration of hypersonic missile capabilities, serves as a clear signal of its preparedness for escalation. The introduction of the ORESHNIK missile into the battlefield only adds to this volatile mix. As a weapon that combines speed, precision, and unpredictability, it is not only a tactical tool, but a strategic message to NATO. Russia is ready to counter any challenge on any front. Ritter notes that the stakes have never been higher, as the risk of miscalculation grows with each escalation. The conflict, once viewed as a localized war, is rapidly transforming into a global flashpoint with far-reaching implications. This raises questions about the conflict's duration and future developments. As the conflict enters its 1003rd day, the likelihood of a protracted war becomes more apparent. Russia, under President Putin's leadership, appears to be bracing for the long haul. Recent approvals by the State Duma highlight this preparedness. The federal budget for 2025-2027 prioritizes national security, allocating significant resources to defense and technological innovation. Projected revenues for the Russian government are set to rise steadily: 40 trillion rubles in 2025, 41 trillion rubles in 2026, and 43 trillion rubles in 2027. Despite these increases, modest deficits of 9.5 to 1.1% of GDP are anticipated during this period. These figures underscore the Kremlin's focus on maintaining financial stability while ensuring robust military funding. The budget also emphasizes infrastructure development, aiming to reinforce domestic resilience amid Western sanctions. Russia's ability to sustain its military operations despite external economic pressures reflects its strategy to outlast Ukraine and its allies in a war of attrition. Investments in next-generation weaponry, such as hypersonic missiles and advanced missile defense systems, are central to this approach. Ritter has observed that such measures are designed not only to secure battlefield advantages, but also to send a message to the West. Russia is prepared for an extended conflict, and it has the resources to endure. For Ukraine and its supporters, this raises significant challenges. As the war drags on, the question becomes whether NATO and Western nations can maintain their economic and military support at current levels. The prolonged conflict also poses risks to global economic stability. Rising energy prices and supply chain disruptions are direct consequences of this war. For Russia, however, these challenges are mitigated by its ability to leverage its vast energy resources. The Kremlin's economic strategies, coupled with its military advancements, reveal a long-term vision that combines resilience and strategic dominance. In conclusion, let's reflect on what these developments mean for the global landscape. Military experts like Scott Ritter emphasize that the deployment of the ORESHNIK missile marks a pivotal moment in the Ukraine conflict. And this new weapon, with its unmatched speed and precision, represents a shift in modern warfare. It signifies Russia's willingness to deploy cutting-edge technology to counteract what it perceives as Western encroachment. As the war escalates, the international community is left to grapple with its broader implications. NATO, despite its collective strength, faces a growing challenge in countering Russia's advanced weaponry. Meanwhile, Ukraine remains caught in the crossfire, relying heavily on Western support to sustain its resistance. The conflict has already reshaped geopolitical alliances and heightened global tensions. The introduction of the ORESHNIK missile further complicates an already volatile situation and underscores the risks of escalation and the potential for this localized war to spiral into a broader confrontation. The coming months will be critical. Will diplomatic efforts prevail? Or are we witnessing the dawn of a new, more dangerous phase in this conflict? As Ritter aptly puts it, the stakes have never been higher. For Russia, Ukraine, and the West, the decisions made today will shape the geopolitical landscape for years to come. Only time will tell how this chapter of history unfolds.